Hi there, it's Nicole here today with an Inlay Frame Shaker Card featuring the new awesome linked chain circle frames from My Favorite Things, plus the adorable You Make My Heart Melt stamps and dies. And I have created this little shaker frame here using that linked chain circle as an inlay, but it's the frame for the shaker. And I'm going to show you how easy it is. I have die cut the linked chain circle from some Lavender Fields cardstock, and then I've also die cut it from the Wild Wisteria cardstock, and then I'm simply going to back the Wild Wisteria frame here or panel with a transparency to create my shaker frame. I'm going to inlay this darker purple, this is the Lavender Fields, I believe, cardstock, into that die cut area. And you could leave it at that if you wanted to. Before I inlay it though, I want to give this card that winter kind of feel with some falling snowflakes. When I create shakers, I really like to have things going on not only in front of the shaker or inside the shaker, but I like to have something on the shaker window. As I've made more and more shakers, I have found that the shakers I'm drawn to the most are the ones that have something going on the window itself, whether it be the greeting, other elements, or in this case, not only are we going to have a decorative frame, but we're going to have some snowflakes stamped with white Stazon ink all over that transparency. When you're stamping on a transparency or acetate, you need to use a Stazon ink of some sort. The white is my favorite. I think it gives amazing results. I just really like how it looks. And I kind of keep using the stamps that I had laid out from You Make My Heart Melt as a guide to know where I want those snowflakes to go so that part of them can be seen all over. Now, this is a pretty intricate kind of frame. The linked chain is a little tricky to add adhesive to. So what I'm going to do is just draw a little line of Ranger Multi-Matte Medium all the way around that scalloped edge and then inlay my frame. And I don't have to worry that some of the glue is showing because all of those little inside pieces are going to be filled with the purple or the Wild Wisteria cardstock pieces from when I die cut the panel. And I'm going to use a quick stick tool because that's going to help put all of those little pieces right in there. If there is additional glue needed, I'm just going to use a little of that Ranger Multi-Matte Medium to put a little glue in each of those little openings and then add all of those back in. You can see the difference between just having the chain link frame and then doing the inlay and adding those little purple pieces in. It really adds so much to the design and makes it much more interesting to look at, in my opinion. I just really like the look of simple inlays like this. It's probably, other than coloring, the most time-consuming thing on this card. This card came together super quick. From start to finish, I made this card in an hour. That doesn't always happen. Even the coloring, I didn't go over the top crazy with. You could do as simple or as extravagant as you wanted to, but I think adding a little inlay detail just takes the card and adds such a fun touch. If you're going to do a shaker like this and you're going to use a more intricate kind of frame, this is just a really neat way to do something a little bit different. And a little bit different than a lot of shakers you might see that have just a stitched circle or a stitched rectangle or whatever it might be, which are always fun and lovely. But this is the focal point of this card, is this circle shape right here on the upper 2/3 or kind of 3/4 of this card panel. Once I have all those little pieces in place, it looks like I have just a few more down here along the bottom. You can save that purple frame to use on another project. I think it would be a great base for creating a wreath on a card design or whatever. So kind of get 2 out of 1. You could even create 2 shakers and just do the opposite, where you have a lighter purple frame and the little darker purple for the inlay pieces. I think that would be awesome too. And in fact, if I had thought of that before I did this card, I would have just done 2 cards at once, because you really get 2 of these frames out of 1 card by doing this inlay like this. Now I keep laying it over the Lavender Fields cardstock so you can see what's going on a little bit better. Now along the bottom edge of the card, I'm going to add some new graphic grid pastel 6x6 pattern paper. This is also brand new for November from My Favorite Things. Awesome colors of pattern paper, and these are my favorite kinds of pattern paper. The ones that don't have a ton going on. I'm a tone-on-tone kind of girl with pattern paper, clear back from my scrapbooking days, and I love these little designs. This pattern paper pad is going to get a lot of use. I really like this kind of pattern paper. A little bit along the bottom adds just the right decorative touch to the card. It automatically adds interest, and it's just really super fun. Now, I originally thought I would create this little border here with the Lavender Fields cardstock, and I realized that it would be much more successful if I created a little thicker strip with my greetings. So we'll do that here in a little bit. I have pre-stamped images from You Melt My Heart on some Nina Smooth White cardstock using the My Favorite Things Black Hybrid ink. This is a great ink for Copic coloring, and I'm going to color everything in with my markers. I have sped this up a little bit to save time with the video. However, along the bottom of the screen, I've broken down each image into what I'm coloring. So the ice colors are B0000, B000, and B01. In fact, kind of in the middle of the ice, I didn't even color it in at all, or it's very, very light. Moving on to the cat. The cat is colored with E33, 35, and 39. And what I'm going to do here is color in the cat, do all of my shading, everything like that, really get an awesome blend, and you can leave it just like that if you wanted to. But one of my favorite things to do, especially with this kind of color combination for a cat, is to go in then and take my darker colors, either the mid-tone or the darkest. In this case, I'm using the darkest color, and just make it a cute little striped kitty. And it's really subtle, but I think it adds a fun detail to the cat. The insides of the ears are going to be a little R00, and I'm going to blend it out so it's not so stark pink with my lightest E33. For the scarf on the owl and then the little jacket that the cat's wearing, these are going to be in some violet shades, and I purposely picked colors to draw out those purple shades from my shaker frame and the background. And this is one of my favorite purple color combinations, even though it's kind of in the blue family. It is B60, 63, 66, and 69. The 69 was used very, very sparingly. It's the darkest color. In fact, I did not use it for the hearts at all. And I'm going to color those in, and that's really going to pull the purples of the background and make the images coordinate really nicely with the whole card. The hearts are also all going to be in shades, these same purple shades. I'm coloring 2 here, but I did actually stamp another one and die cut another one that goes right underneath the greeting along the bottom of the card. Same goes for the trees. I'm coloring 2 of those in here, but there are actually 3 of them in the finished card design. I'm using some different green colors here. I wanted something not super bright. I wanted something that would blend nicely with the violets and purples that I'm using for my card. So I purposely went with some kind of more, I don't even know, neutral-ish blue-greens, and they're just really, really pretty. I love how they turned out on these little trees. The owl is colored in one of my other favorite critter color combinations, and that is E40, 43, 44 with a little E47, also used pretty sparingly, not a lot. And then the beak and the feet are colored with YR24 or YR24 and 27. Not a ton of those two colors used because the feet and the beak are pretty teeny tiny. And then I'll add some little dot detail to the belly area of the owl with E43 to give it a little bit of texture, almost like the illusion of some feathers. I have the scarf left now for the cat, and I wanted to do something a little bit different in color and make it pop a little bit but still complement and coordinate nicely. This is another favorite color combination, kind of a newer favorite to me, and that's RV 66, 69, 66, and 99. Once I have the images die cut with the coordinating You Make My Heart Melt dies, I am going to add a layer of Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen to the ice, glue that in place on the front of my shaker, and put a layer of glossy accents down. I went ahead and did this right away because I need that glossy accents to dry so I can put the rest of the card together. And this is a pretty big area, so it's going to need a little bit of time to dry. In fact, I finished everything else that I could and then let it sit for a little bit, went and had lunch, and came back to finish putting the card together. I'm carefully adding my little piece of pattern paper along the front edge of my card. So you can kind of see what it's starting to look like here. And then I'm going to use the You Make My Heart Melt greeting from the stamp set of the same name. I just love the little greeting. I think this will work for all kinds of different occasions. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp that on a scrap of the Lavender Fields cardstock. I'm going to use a powder anti-cling tool first. Use the Misty to line this up perfectly along the top edge of this little scrap of paper. Stamp with Versamark ink and then heat emboss with a little white embossing powder. And that's going to go right along the edge as a nice divider between the solid lighter cardstock and the pattern cardstock. And I'm simply trim off those two ends. I like to stamp it on cardstock that's a little bit wider than what I actually need. It gives you a little room for play. I'm going to add detail to the eyes and nose of the critters with a black glaze pen. When it's completely dry, I can add a little white highlight to the nose as well. In the meantime, I'm going to add some highlights to the images, some little dots on the cheeks and things like that with my white pen. Go ahead and attach my trees, kind of just along each side, frame up that shaker nicely. And then I started by putting glue dots on the back of my whole image, not thinking the glossy accents does pop up the ice pretty good. And I think to make it look a little bit nicer, I'm going to put some foam adhesive dots on the top part of the cat and owl image. That way, it's just going to lay nicer on the front of that shaker. The rest of it can be attached with glue dots right to the ice. I'm going to attach the hearts with some little glue dots as well, a couple here at the top, and then one down here centered underneath the greeting. Now, I forgot to show in the video because it was kind of a last minute. After I had already put the card together, I realized I forgot their ice skates. So what I did was go back in and stamp and color and die cut their ice skates, and those will be popped on next to them on the ice. On the back of my panel, I have doubled up some foam adhesive and I'm going to frame up all the way around the edges, making sure that it butts up next to each other perfectly, right around the opening of the shaker. And then I'll just fill in at the bottom to give it a nice finished look and to make the shaker lay nicely. I'm going to use my powder anti-cling tool to help keep the seed beads from sticking too bad, and then fill my shaker with marshmallow and lilac Pretty Pink Posh seed beads. I'm going to pull all of the backing paper from the foam adhesive off, take that Lavender Fields cardstock shaker backer, press that in place and flip it over, and there is my cute little shaker. I can go ahead and place this on a white top fold card base. Has a nice white border all the way around. And then I'm going to finish with glossy accents on any other image that I want to have be glossy, which in this case is the hearts. Then I'm going to take some Nuvo Simply White crystal drops, and I love these white crystal drops, and they just come out of the bottle beautifully. Some colors work better than others, I found. The white is one of my favorites. I'm going to put it in the center of the snowflakes, add a scattering of little drops throughout the top portion of the card to finish off the falling snow look. Thanks for joining me today for this inlay style shaker card featuring my favorite things, stamps, and dies. The supplies I used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring my favorite things that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.